Well, hi there, YouTubers. Jose Quiñones, the CNC dude, ready to present my new super duper awesome Star Wars related CNC, heavy CNC project. But before I do that, let me give you a little introduction. So an introduction to the introduction. I'm wearing here my kid's R2D2 winter cap. I'm sporting it. And you know, the study is when we picked this up, basically like 3 weeks ago. Today is November 23rd. This was on Saturday, October 31st, literally before we went trick-or-treating with my 5-year-old. My wife wanted to pick up a few extra little details at the party city, so we went to the party city, and she sees the hat and she's like, "Oh, we have to get that hat." And I'm thinking, why do we have to get that hat? I mean, my son already has more hats than he will ever have hats. He has Minions, Spider-Man, and you know, every other combination. But it is an R2D2 hat. Definitely we gotta get it. Here it is. Funny part of the story is, as we're walking to the car, my kid is wearing the hat practically for the last time. And my wife says, "Ian, do you know that R2D2 is your brother?" And my kid is like, "What? R2D2 is not my brother." But I'm not certain why he was so appalled. Was it because he doesn't want to have a brother or sister? Because I think somehow he knows that as soon as he gets another sibling, he's gonna lose some attention. Or was he appalled because he doesn't want to have a robot as a brother? Now, I realize that from the 7 billion humans on this planet, the great majority of you will be saying, "Who is this a-hole thinking that he is the father of R2D2 when clearly he was a toddler when the real R2D2 was conceived?" And actually, I think I was like 3 or 4 when the real R2D2 was conceived. So in order to understand why that metaphor of my kid having an R2D2 as a brother is not as far-fetched as you may think, I need to show you something. Well, friends, I am here with what some people have, with who some people have referred to as my first son. Now, I agree, it's not of biological nature, but you know how they say when women are basically giving birth, they say they have gone in labor. Well, there was about 10 years of labor here to make this puppy a reality. So, friends, I present to you R2D2, or what I call Avayan's R2D2, my own version of it. Well, say hi, R2. Yeah, I know I'm not your real father. No need to bring that up at the moment. I mean, it was a lot of work to make you. No, I'm not moving my lips. You know, it may give the impression that as you're speaking, I am trying to do a ventriloquy act here, but that's not the case. Okay, I'm going to shut him down right now and stop with my ridiculous attempt of making R2D2 sounds. Right now, R2D2 here is in need of some serious work. We're talking here super duper revamping of this creation. So what an excellent excuse to get all of this CNC equipment cranking and get some fun videos on how to make different R2D2 parts. We're gonna make a lot of R2D2 parts. But first thing I wanna do is bring R2D2 back into walking conditions. Right now, it is not walking. So, I mean, the motors, which will, as you know, will go here, and on the other side, I need new mounts. So we're gonna machine those out of aluminum. And then we're going to start remaking parts, just because some of these parts have seen better days and we just can make it better. I mean, we have the technology to do it, so that's the plan. That's what I plan on investing many months in the future, working on making videos on how to make these parts with CNC equipment. Now, of course, granted, there are many parts in here that you would not use a CNC. I mean, if you had a CNC big enough to make a head, hey, by all means, or the cylinder. But mostly it's gonna be, you know, stuff like the legs, the feet, ornaments all over the place. We're gonna do those on CNC. Let me give you a little introduction to what this R2D2 is today, and then we can go from there. Now, first thing I have to mention here, this R2D2 is made out of fiberglass, okay? Fiberglass, and not the kind of fiberglass, not a very fancy fiberglass. Basically, what I was able to get back in 1995, and we're gonna talk about that as well, because 1995, it has some very cool implications. But basically, in 1995, I was able to buy fiberglass. You know, a gallon was like 12 bucks. With 36 bucks, I could go to this place, get my hands on enough fiberglass to build plenty of parts. And what you're seeing here is the last of basically what eventually became this R2D2 unit. But you know, I made one first head that I had to get rid of, and I made a second cylinder which wasn't very good. Legs, these are like the 4 pair of legs, and different ornaments have been developed through the years. These doors are actually sheet metal, and what you're gonna see on this unit is there's a lot of half-ass jobs here, a lot of incomplete stuff. So these doors are actually taped. It's super depressing. That's the kind of stuff that I want to fix. Let me go down here. Some of these ornaments are just plain old ugly. I mean, look at this crap here. I mean, this stuff is always falling apart. But you know, this is what I had the capabilities of back then. But this is resin, fiberglass. This is also resin. It looks metallic, but it's just because of the paint. This is resin. Look at my parallel port here where there should be coins. I guess this was a novel way of doing it. These grids, they were always a pain to make. So I'm already thinking of how we can make this much better with CNC. But yeah, they're also resin. Let me move you to the legs. Now I'm gonna do a video on the legs because the legs is truly the most fragile part of the whole thing. Namely because it's basically holding the whole thing. Okay, I mean it's all of the weight falls on this guy. So this is what breaks. So these are made of steel. They were CNC plasma cut and then TIG welded. Horrendous job because I am really not a welder. You know, I dabble with it, but I copied the design that I saw out there on the web. And then this is plastic, resin plastic, fiberglass. All of that stuff I'm thinking to remake, including the legs, because this is not perfectly round. And you know, I have a pet peeve with making round parts that are not perfectly round. When I put the other stuff in here, which is gonna be perfectly round because the milling machine will make it, the Torma will make it perfectly round, this is gonna look horrendous. So I'm thinking, I don't want that. So I may need to redo the whole thing. We'll see how that goes. Right now it's super stable. This thing is pretty stable, so on that sense, this is pretty good. Then let me show you the head. Let's talk a little bit about the head, and I will do a whole video on the head because boy, the story on how I got the head is it's pretty definitive. But this was done by hand. This was sculpted by hand. Literally, I made this out of plasticine, and then I made a copy, and then you know by hand I gave the shape, and then with a milling machine, I think I may have added some real curves, but I mean you can actually see up here. Let me bring this up, or I may need to take the camera to show you this one. My apologies for this, but this is warped. This is not perfectly flat. This one looks pretty flat, so it's very possible that I did this on the milling machine. But you know, this was done out of clay, literally. And as you can see, this stuff like that, you know, that was done with like a little spatula. Actually, this was like a CNC router, maybe a Dremel, and stuff like that with the spatula done by hand. So stuff like this we can do much better. And this is a lens that I found on a surplus store. I think I have a couple more. This is aluminum cut on the mill, and there is actually lights. I don't think you were able to see those on the previous part of the video, but there is actually fiber optic. Let me turn this on. So there is actually fiber optic in there, and a little microcontroller. But you know, this, I want to improve this, put like real LEDs. This light is supposed to be changing colors, but I don't think you can see that. And then back here there is a little bit of action, not a lot. This is basically a random pattern, but you know, all of these were done on the milling machine, and to give this curve I literally did this by hand with a file. And I think there is a lamp in there, but also, I mean, this has to be improved. All of this has to be improved. Now the head is made out of fiberglass, which means this is not one of those very amazing and great looking aluminum domes that you can buy when somebody makes a build. So all of these were done by hand with a Dremel. And you know, none of this pops up like the ones, like if you buy the ones on aluminum where you can have the actual thing come out. That can be done, but it's way harder. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna get there. We'll see what time tells. But you know, look at this. This is a rework. There's a lot of resin here. We gotta clean that up, which means that most likely this whole paint job has to be redone. There is just so much half-ass jobs here, just because I wanted to get it ready for the movie. Look at how this doesn't match. It's just very depressing. So that's the kind of stuff that I really want to make so much better. Now, granted that if I walk with this guy here, if I take that guy moving pretty much anywhere, people will be like, oh my god, it's R2D2, look, it's R2D2. Even if the real thing made out of aluminum shows up, people will still think this is a fairly amazing creation, just because this is not something you go to Walmart and buy. I mean, this was literally made by hand, and I'm gonna talk about the implications of that. Like I said, this was done I started in 1995. It's 10 years of work. So definitely it's not your, I made an LED blinker project. Let me show you this guy here. This is a almost a funny thing. It's very odd because this is what this guy should look like according to one of the models that I used back in the 90s, but of course it's not the real thing. So that I'm gonna talk about models in another video. I mean, there are so many videos we're gonna be recording here, so much information, but just to give you the gist of it, of course in 1995 I didn't have you know, plans or anything that I could refer to, so I basically had toys, and according to one of the toys, this is how this was supposed to be. And man, the amount of work that it was to make this is ridiculous. But you know what, that's not right, so we're gonna fix that. And actually the real one is way easier to make than this super duper hard to make shape. And this one, this is basically a casting made on one of those smooth on plastics and then painted. This one was also super duper hard to make because of those shapes. And I think I did the prototype. It's basically like 2 or 3 different parts, and then I made a mold and all that jazz. But look how hideous this looks. Obviously we're gonna fix all of these doors. We're gonna try to actually make something with them, and that's pretty much it. This fiberglass is 20 years old today, and the great majority of it. The youngest fiberglass in here is 10 years old. So this is not a young project. I mean, this guy will be in college by now. Well, friends, this is the project that I had mentioned I was going to work on in the upcoming months, which is why I cannot finish the lightsabers at the moment. And the reason why I wanted to work on this is because, you know, the movies are coming up. If I can make it work, I'm certain it's a tremendous piece of equipment to have. You know, I could take it to my kids' school and generate interest in the sciences, engineering, arts, making. So I think there is a lot of value in bringing R2D2 here back to life. Versus if I finish the lightsaber, I can show it to a few people. Some people will be amazed. Basically at a chunk of aluminum, pretty chunk of aluminum, but it really doesn't have the means to grasp the kid's attention. Like if I put a lightsaber, a kid may look at it for a little bit, but if I walk into a school parking lot, my kid's school parking lot, with this R2D2, I am positive all of my kids' buddies, you know, all of the people at school are gonna be super energized, and I'm positive they'll remember this for the rest of their lives. They'll be like, oh my god, the day that R2D2 showed up at our school. And the reason why I know they will remember is because I remember the first time that I saw R2D2, I was either 7, 8, or 9, and that is the reason why there is an R2D2 here, okay? Because some guy in 1977 took an R2D2 to the mall, and I'm gonna put a picture of that here. That's basically the first moment that I became an R2D2 builder, although it would take me like 15 years to get that project started, but actually more like 18. But I mean, that's how impactful that moment was. That I remember it. Luckily, my parents took pictures of the moment, but I didn't need to see the pictures to remember. So to me, it was like, man, I remember R2D2. So one day I want to build one, and here it is. I did it. So by the way, I have to say this, and most likely I'm going to repeat this throughout the videos, but who I am today is because of this, okay? The reason why you're seeing a CNC milling machine, CNC plasma cutter, lathe, and all of the other tools that I've been playing with in the past is because of this. Because in 1995 I was into music, but when I graduated from engineering and I said I'm going to build an R2D2, I had to pick all of this stuff. So this wasn't a kit. I didn't buy it. So this is something that I had to build, and I had to learn how to build it. So just being with an R2D2 replica when I was 7 made me change my life forever. So I think it's a very powerful figure to have that memory of the past, and it's a good memory. It's basically something that propels us into being makers. That's what we need today. So we need people that are makers, and people that want to solve problems, and people that want to look at science and utilize it for the best of humanity. Not that making R2D2 is going to make the planet a better world, but you know, thanks to the stuff that I have learned with this, is how I actually feed my family, literally. So yeah, great project. It has been a great project. It definitely taught me a lot. So now I'm gonna pass a little bit of that knowledge, and we're gonna see how we can utilize CNC to make a bunch of these parts and get that going. All right. So I apologize for not being able to complete the Lightsaber series yet. I plan on returning to it, but at the moment, I really want to focus on the R2D2 here. Alright, thank you for tuning. As you can imagine, there's going to be so many videos coming up. Super exciting stuff. Keep tuned. I promise to have extremely good content on, we're going to start with looking at different parts that I have built and stuff that breaks. So we're going to learn a lot. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Alright, take care.